with the beautiful Michele, and she has agreed to do, it's actually Easter Sunday right now, so thank you so much for giving up your Easter. Yeah, I'll let Michele introduce herself, tell you guys a bit about her and what she does.
Yeah, well, my name's Michele Reeves, and I've been a psychic medium probably for the last, all my life. However, in a professional sense, I've been doing this for the last 25 years. And I do help people on all matters of, healing. Basically, I began the journey when I was quite young and had lots of professional teachers and people that actually helped me to progress my natural gifts. I can see, feel, think, and basically help in terms of a healing sense to eradicate issues that may be blocking your life. But one of the biggest things that I've found that I've enjoyed doing was being able to speak to people that had passed over. And so that's probably where we've come to actually find each other in a not so pleasant situation, but at the same time there's a lot of natural healing that can be gained, I guess, from what we can provide from actually connecting with people, the loved ones that have passed. And it might not necessarily be something you've ever done before, but it certainly, once you've experienced it, people always say that they tend to want to go and explore that even further. So it's the gift that I have.
It's a very amazing gift. I had a reading with Michele, Johnny, and I did 2 days ago now, and
Yes.
I walked out of this place with this, I don't even have the words for it. I just felt so at ease and calm, and I just had so much closure that I needed, and I feel like a huge weight's been lifted off my shoulders, which yeah, I've got goosebumps.
Yeah.
Just thinking about it, yeah.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about that is that obviously for you guys, it was probably really important that you were in a situation where it was just the one-on-one setting. And I was also talking about, the beautiful closures that we've actually had for people like yourself through a group setting as well. So I've done, when I was living in Sydney, I had a company called Heart Space Manor, and that's basically being brought to Melbourne now as well. So it's a beautiful centre that will be operating, to bring about these type of services. But then with that, that means that I can do group sessions, and those are just unbelievable. So I'd highly recommend that you partake in that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what I actually ask is that people come along with a photo of their loved one that's passed, and what we do is a little ceremony afterwards, and those people actually become quite bonded as well in terms of not so much the trauma, because trauma seems to be released, as you were talking about before. It's just more, it's really lovely to actually be able to be around like-minded individuals.
Yeah, it would
like-hearted.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It would become like a bit of a support group.
Absolutely.
And you'd form friendships inside of the group. That's actually a really amazing idea.
Yeah, and the other thing, so they're called Evening with Spirit Nights, and so I'll be doing those. You can look those up through Heart Space Manor and Michele Reeves, which is coming to town very soon. Yeah, my own little brand. But the thing with that is that I suppose for people that, that might be their first interlude into actually thinking about things on a spiritual level. And then what happens is they meet other people and start to progress in other areas. So we do psychic development, circles. And then I do a thing called Let's Talk About Love, which is another circle that I run. I'm very proud of that because that's all about the twin flame, which we had a little discussion about as well. Yeah, so at the moment on the planet, there's a lot of people that are experiencing very different relationships, if you will. So some people that might have known each other 20 odd years ago, or even 30 or 40 years ago, all of a sudden are coming into, we've got a little present. Come here, little puppy. Come on. This is Chili Dog. This is Chili, everyone. Hello.
Oh, I got a kiss. Oh my goodness.
And see, that's interesting because, we were talking yesterday about that with animals. When animals pass away, they also leave a little gift and a memory as well. And this little girl has got a puppy that actually is in the home that passed away. So I think she would have picked up on that as well when she came in. Yeah. So she's there to actually help her owner in terms of, you know, being able to heal.
Yeah.
And I always, whenever I'd go to their house, I could feel into that energy. And yeah, I just said, I think it's time that you let yourself have a little puppy.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the first things I did after losing Bobby is I got a dog.
Wow.
And my dog has been so helpful with my grief.
Yeah.
He's just been my grief baby.
Exactly.
Because I know
I'm
a lot
sure
of people feel the need to have a baby after losing a loved one, whether they lose a child or an adult.
Yes, that's right.
Grief babies are a common
quite
thing.
common,
And I had that urge as well, but I was like, it's not the right time. So we
And
got
after your session, we know when that's
Yes, yes, definitely. Everyone who follows my social media has connected to me through Bobbi.
Yes.
So everyone that watches my videos knows and loves her. So
That's beautiful.
I feel like it might be really special if you could share what you felt from
Yes,
her.
absolutely.
And
Well, interestingly enough, I mean, the story goes a little bit beyond that. Then you probably have to talk about that first. So in relation to how I predicted that somebody was going to come into your beautiful man's life.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that? And
Yeah.
then I can sort of fill in, yeah.
So 4 or 5 years ago, Johnny saw Michelle, and the biggest thing that he took out of that session was that there would be a child that would come into his life that would not be his child, but would have a huge impact on his life. And that child would come to live with him. And the only thing was Michelle predicted a little boy. But when you look at Bobbi and you think of the name Bobbi, everyone thinks of a little boy.
Yes.
And we would all...
energy-wise.
She's
probably had a very strong kind of demeanour about her.
Exactly.
And I remember picturing her with this bald head. So, of course, straight away it's sort of like, or, you know, very short hair.
Yep.
You know, so, of course, you would think that that was a little boy.
Yep, exactly.
She's probably quite proud of that anyway.
Oh, absolutely. She was so rough and tumble.
Yeah. So for me, I mean, that's just the expression of, you know, all those years ago, he's had that as a prediction, and then basically it's started to come to fruition. And so for me, it's just such a beautiful thing to then be able to connect with these gorgeous couple, to not only see that what I predicted for them has come true, but also for these, you know, this beautiful, delightful, you know, beautiful spirit that's sort of sitting around and having conversation with us. And interestingly enough, I was saying to you that she'd obviously come in a couple of days prior and was hanging out with me, and her energy was really playful, and I was sort of, you know, unsure of what this was all about because I hadn't chosen to really connect in. I thought I'll just let her be, you know, sort of hanging out in the space, and she knows why she's here, and I'm sure when I do my sessions I'll find out who this person is. But interestingly enough, and I said this too, she reminds me a lot of my daughter, and my little girl Abby has got a very, very strong sort of demeanour, very energetically, quite spiritual in nature. And I actually feel that this was really what Bobbi represented, you know. She had a real understanding. The little ones, she's playing with my feet. She has a deep understanding, and I think she also knew that she wouldn't be here for too long. And it was interesting because I really wanted to actually, when I was reflecting upon our session, I really wanted to share that with you as well. It was like she had a real understanding that perhaps she was only here for a short space of time on this planet, and she wanted to feel that in such a beautiful way. So the people that she's touched, the essence of Bobbi will live on forever, and she really is still present. That's the whole point. So a very, very strong spirit. Sometimes you can have, just like you do in personalities, not necessarily are people very forthwith, you know, like strong with she's nothing like that. So she was kind of pushing forward and sort of, you know, not demanding, just more, this is the way that this is going to roll, and this is what you need to say, and blah. And it was just really, really beautiful. And also interestingly enough, because I could really see as a couple that unification that you two have is just so special. And Bobbi is sort of almost like the advocate for that. She's the one that's really trying to push to make sure that these guys go on and do incredible things, not only in her honour, but also the honour of the two of you.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm sure that everybody here would agree that you are just an extraordinary couple on just so many levels, and really that needs to be acknowledged as well.
Thank you.
And this is coming from a spiritual sense, but also obviously just on a human level. I mean, you're just an inspiration. So, and I feel blessed. Me being in this line of work, I get to meet the most incredible souls. But you usually meet me at the hardest times.
Yeah.
And so then to actually be able to have the celebrationary things that actually occur as a result is just so beautiful. So.
Yeah.
I feel like this little fairy godmother to the whole lot of you, and we were, I don't know how much you want to share in terms
share
of that.
everything.
Okay, that's great. Just even the predictions of the babies that will be born, and
I feel like I need to share of Bobbi telling me that I was going to have 2 babies at once.
Yeah.
Because that was one of Michelle's predictions.
I'm getting chills.
I know, me too.
Little goosebumps. That usually means yes, by the way. That's an affirmation, if you like.
Yeah.
And confirmation.
I'm going to put that, that's an important conversation, because I feel like I know myself with my grief is, I have these really griefy days where I'm just like, I just need something, I need a sign that you're still here. I need a sign that I'm on the right path.
Yes.
And they're little things like those chills you get all over your body that we can look for.
Absolutely. So there's this real, you develop that gift and you actually know then that this person is with you. And my daughter and I, since she was little, we also believe in white feathers. So that's a real sign from the heavens. It's an angelic sign. So we tend to collect white feathers along our journey. Another thing which people would laugh at, but little 5-cent pieces. And we've got bowls and bowls of them. So this is something that, your viewers could use as just an understanding that, spirit is with us. It may not necessarily be the person that's passed, but it's certainly guidance, from angelic forces or even higher spiritual guides that are actually trying to help you. So the more we tune in, it's like, people say to me all the time, how do you do this? Well, you have to form a conversation, if you will.
Yeah.
It's like anything in this world. You can't necessarily just go ahead and think, I'll just tap in today, if you haven't given yourself permission to, talk to this beautiful individual and speak, a lot to, say, for example, with Bobbi. If you were just letting her memory sort of fade away, then when she's trying to target you energetically, or she'll touch your hair or play with the light globes. They're very good at doing things with electricity.
In some of my videos, because I've got fairy lights in my studio, and I've only filmed one video in there, but in that video, throughout it, you can see the light that's wrapped around her ukulele. You can see it flickering through the video.
Her. Absolutely. Again,
yes.
So that's just saying yes. Okay. And she's excited that you've been able to acknowledge that. And that's the thing. Spirit has this, they're quite light in their energy, particularly her energy is easy for her to be able to connect in, particularly with things of electronical nature. So they can blow up gadgets and, sort of cars and, lighting and whatever, all sorts of things.
I had a moment at work. So Bobbi and we connected through music. That was we used to dance, we used to sing. I was at work the other day and I heard the song Rise Up by Andrew Day, which is, it's been my go-to release my emotion song. Like when I was having a bad day, I'd sit in my car and I'd belt out this song to sort of, exactly, and bawl my eyes out to it. And I'm at work the other day and I could hear this song playing really faintly in my office. And I looked around and I knew it was coming from my office. I couldn't find where it was coming from, so I just assumed maybe it was the office upstairs or next door. And I forgot about it. The song finished. And then another song started playing, which was I'll Be There by Jess Glynn, which is another one of my emotional songs.
Yes.
And And I was like, okay, this is too weird, but she was talking about it.
Yes.
And I opened my handbag to get something out, and I realized that the music was coming from my headphones, which were turned off that morning.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, that's weird.
Yes.
Even weirder than that, I checked my phone and the music wasn't coming from my phone. And then I looked at my iPad, and I've never opened a music app on my iPad, ever.
Oh, I'm getting chills.
I know, I didn't even know I had music on my
Yes,
iPad, but it was playing through my iPad, and it was.
So that is definitely that's her actually connecting in, and this is like, you know, we hear this time and time and time again. You know, these little things that actually transpire for them to say, "Here I am."
Yeah.
You know, don't forget me.
Yeah.
And the word choice is just so beautiful. I mean, I could write a book on these type of exchanges that happen. You know, even people that don't necessarily haven't had a belief, you know, and now they've really, but you know, for you yourself, you're quite open, so of course you're ready, willing and able, which is really, really beautiful. So the other thing is white, anything white.
The white butterflies.
Yes, white butterflies, doves, you know, birds, this type of thing is really, really important. And actually it was really funny, we actually were talking and Bobbi just started to interrupt and say she needed a message. The message was that you needed to sort something in the garden for her as well. So that was obviously a very big thing. And I think this is her also making sure that you get outside and you look after yourself in terms of self-nurture.
Yeah.
Which is a big topic, and we actually briefly discussed that, didn't we, yesterday, about, you know, when people are going through grief, it's just so important that we use exceptional self-care.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's so many tools out there these days, but on a spiritual nature, there's so much that we can do to actually help ourselves, you know, and we talked briefly about that, didn't we, about writing a list, you know, of all the beautiful things that we love to give to ourselves. So I'll give you an example for me, you know, a beautiful bath recipe that I love that maybe someone's passed on to me. I'll write that in my little journal. You know, lighting candles, maybe getting yourself a nice cuppa, you know, like beautiful tea, whatever it is, but make it like a ceremony. And so we write these things down, perhaps on a good day.
Yeah.
And then on those days that you were talking about where things are feeling a bit griefy, to want of a better way of describing it, that's your go-to list.
Yes.
Because this is the thing, on those days, you don't really think about doing that at all, do you? And this is the thing, we need to actually help each other where that's concerned. So I can almost feel like your community would be like that for each other too, because you're there being connected because of obviously what's happened with Bobbi, but you'll probably find 9 out of 10 of these people have had their own significant grief or loss. And so as a result, I'm getting chills talking about this. They are all going to then help each other. So this is a beautiful expanding community that this is what it's all about.
Exactly.
It really is. In this day and age, we need each other, and particularly with, you know, what we've faced in terms of COVID and everything else, we've been given this new way of perhaps being able to connect. And I can tell you, it was never my family, you know, like I love the face-to-face. However, just to know that we've got this ability to reach an amazing community, you know, I really want you to fly with that, sweetheart.
Just changing lives from our bedrooms.
Absolutely.
From our homes.
Easy,
Yeah.
You know, as much as this might look all, you know, pre-organised, it was
No.
quick, wasn't it?
It was.
Like, you know, just the universe wanted us to get together.
Yeah.
Again, Bobbi's pushing for this. So her honour, you know, in memory of her honour, this is what we can do to actually help. But, you know, hopefully you guys, when you see this, will be able to connect and show how this is impacting upon other people's lives as well. So, you know, there'll be people that get what we call a direct hit. They'll just feel the goosebumps inside of them.
Yeah.
And that means that there's something that you need to do. So whether that be some conversation that we've had today and something just feels like, oh, yes, that really touched me. Make sure you reach out and do something about it.
Act on it. Try and figure out, you know, find that inner intuition and really tune into it.
Absolutely.
I have a question. Do you think everyone has the ability within them
Yeah, look, a lot of people ask me this. I would say absolutely. I don't think, I think we're innately gifted with something. The issue that people have is from when they turn 7, which is when we step out of our mother's aura, what happens is a lot of our natural innate gifts are shut down.
Yeah.
So our beautiful Bobbi wasn't in that situation herself, so she was completely still open. She would have been affected by you being like the mother figure in her life. Anything that was good to you or that you enjoyed doing, she would also be a part of. So the dancing and the singing and the intuitive side and everything else, that's all just part of her world, you know.
Yeah.
So when they reach 7, often what will happen is society seems to be able to shut that innate gift down. So you really need to, as a family, and this is interesting for you guys when you have children, to make sure that you actually just allow them, you know, to talk about perhaps their little supposed imaginary friends, which I don't believe are. They're actually spiritual connections, and just allow them to see that as normal, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Abby from an early age was just raised in little circles, and she'd be able to do her own circles and things like that with her friends, just to keep their development going. So I suppose the long answer is yes. We've all got the gift. Mine's probably, if you imagine like a radar, you know, like a really strong signal, if you will. And that's just innate. That was something, I mean, I've got spiritual connections on both sides of my family, so both my mum's side and my dad.
Wow.
So my grandmother that I never met on dad's side, I believe was the psychic medium, but nobody actually would have even claimed that back then. And she passed away quite young. My daughter's actually born on her death day.
Wow.
Yeah, so she was either going to be born on her birthday or her death day, so they're one day apart, which is really interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's a real connection around that, and Abby's got the gift as well. So, you know, and it passes on often through the mother's side.
Yeah.
But this time it was dad. And then on my mother's side, I've got all the healing qualities. So mum can put her hands on you and you just feel instantly just amazing.
Yeah.
And so I connected in more with that and did this medical stuff as well, so I can tune in and check out people's auras and make sure that, you know, there's no blockages or there's anything they need to do, say they might have a heart condition or they might have something wrong, but I can then go and ask them to get help and, you know, make sure they're looked after. But yeah, you can, and look, those that could say, look, I'm feeling very blocked in that department in terms of intuition, we know why, because society tends to prevent that. The best thing to do is to actually then start to go into these development circles, or to read, or to, you know, listen to YouTube, or whatever it is that's going to, things that you feel, I call it like the spiritual breadcrumbs. If you feel a direct hit on something and then you just follow that, you'll start to be able to tune into it more. I watch people, you know, that have done courses with me, or, you know, they've developed over, say, a year and done the circles, you know, go from thinking they don't have any gifts at all to being incredibly gifted, you know, and be able to then sometimes they go into a professional sense and
that's amazing.
That way. Yeah. We did a bit of a study to show just how insightful people really are, and what we did was, I call it the mystery box, and we actually popped, it was a person that had passed away, and we put in some information into the box, and literally all that everybody did around the development circle was to hold the box for as long as they wanted, you know, and breathe into it, and then they just had to write down whatever hits, or we call it hits, you know, direct hits, that they felt from this exchange. Now, around the room, I think we had 20 people this time.
Yeah.
And by the time everybody had just given the little bit of insight that they actually had, even the ones that thought they were totally blocked and they just had nothing to offer, we actually solved the case.
Wow.
So that just proves...
That's incredible.
So I've worked with the police and helped with murders and finding missing persons and things like that. And when we get together in terms of psychic mediums, that's what we do. So we'd sit into these groups, and actually that's one of the ways that we can do it. But to show that even just, you know, somebody, the average lady or man, that seems to want to actually see whether they've got anything. It's a really great boost, you know, for them to feel confident enough to perhaps open up more, you see.
And the more you open up, the stronger it gets.
Oh, most definitely.
The first time I ever spoke to someone with these abilities,
the
gift, she was doing my nails.
Yes.
And she brought it up in conversation one day and said, hey, can I give you a reading? And I was like, of course. And she ended up speaking to me about my great-grandmother, who I never met. She passed just before I was born.
Yes.
And from that day on, I was really open to this.
Yes.
And I sort of would talk to her as my spirit guide when I needed guidance.
Right.
And that's what sort of opened me up to it. But now with Bobbi, there's been, I could,
massive,
I need to do a whole video on all of the little signs she's given me.
Actually, I think that would be really quite beneficial. It's so interesting, and often it will be grandmothers that come. I think I might have touched on this, but for me, I didn't want to be a psychic medium. I actually saw it as a curse.
Yeah.
So initially, and I just wanted to shut it down because I was quite shy as a little girl. And so basically, I just thought, this is so bizarre. Like, why would anyone want to be this way inclined? And it took to, I was actually, when I was 33, I actually thought I was going, not through a breakdown, but it just felt like I was emotionally on a grief cycle that I couldn't get out of. I was in a very abusive marriage. I was basically feeling really scared, for my life, essentially. And so what happened, he and I, actually my husband at the time, we went to see a psychic, and it was just unbelievable. She nailed everything that was going on, inclusive of the fact that he was all but killing me. And she said, you have a natural gift, Michelle, you need to do something with it. Of course, I was all freaked out and thought, what do I do with this? And then my nana came to me that night. She'd only just passed. Now, recognizing she was also a devout Catholic. So, and I've been raised a Catholic. So here am I thinking, there's no way I can go down the road of spirituality, that's just dishonoring her and everything else. And she sat on my bed, could you imagine? And she's saying, Michelle, it's all different on the other side. Please use your gift. And then I had this bunch of women that actually came up to me, all, like gypsy women, because I was actually in Queensland at the time. And they were just gorgeous, but they'd come up and they'd hold my hand. If I had it happen once on that trip, I probably maybe 10 or 15 times. It was just freaky, So,
gosh.
But at 33, and this is something to remember too, at 33, you go through what we call a spiritual awakening.
Okay.
So even if you're open and awake, there's something that shifts at that time. It's a very, very powerful master number. And so I didn't have a hope in hell, basically. And so then I just started to study it a little bit more, and I just straight away was in the profession, So
wow.
Prior to that, it was all corporate or, whatever, anything to get me away from it. But always having the gift.
What did you do before?
Yeah, so lots of different things actually. I loved working with children. I've had an innate connection to children like yourself. I did family daycare at one stage. I did childcare. I've worked in offices. I've, sort of professionally, I was meant to be, it's so interesting. I was thinking about that the other day. The careers that I was meant to have, basically at that point where I was about to really progress and do those things, something would happen. Either I'd get sick or I just get this feeling like the calling, if you like, that I needed to stop. I was studying psychology, and psychology for me, I loved every moment of it, but the thing with it was I felt that the missing link was in regards to spirituality. I felt that part was missing, and so I could never really connect with that, and I didn't know how metaphysical could meet psychological, if you like.
Yeah.
I just didn't enjoy the idea that you have to go through grief and talk about your trauma day in, day out, week after week after week without any resolve.
Yeah.
So a big part of that for me was knowing on my mother's side that I was a healer. I thought there's part of me that just thinks, no, you know, in one session you should be able to get some resolve around that and move forward. And, you know, like you felt yourself, you want people to sort of fly out of here.
Exactly.
You know? And to start to feel, okay, well, I've got little tools, I've got some, instead of, oh my gosh, I've just gone through the whole story. Exactly.
I just had a moment while you were talking then, and I related big time to what you said about how when you get close to something that's probably not quite right for your life journey, something happens.
Absolutely.
I was halfway through a double degree in law and psychology. And that's what I wanted to do.
Right?
I'm like goosebumps everywhere. I'm feeling it. And then one day overnight, I became bedbound. I was chronically unwell for 3 years of my life.
What was it, sweetheart?
So I have several chronic diagnoses: chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia.
Okay, we'll wait for this. This is where I'm getting chills talking about it. So at 14, I had glandular fever and then had chronic fatigue. So I was bedbound for a couple of years there too.
Wow.
And that was when I was trying to completely disengage from my gifts. So can you see how this works, guys?
That's insane.
Yes. So this is what we call the soul sister type of thing, but it happens from like-hearted individuals getting together. So, you know, like I said to you yesterday, chills all over, our stories are incredibly similar. You know, from, you know, our trauma, pain, you know, things that we've experienced, all of that. That's all there. But on the flip side is also the beautiful side, you know, which is here we are to help prop up each other in some ways, and to push, you know, to push to the areas we're meant to be. Yeah, the other thing I just wanted to add was that my belief is that we're preconditioned to exactly what's happening to us now. Good, bad and indifferent. It's what I call the spiritual blueprint, if you will. And I actually started to do this body of work and started to create it probably as a result of all the sessions that I had with people, and realizing there was a theme to this, okay? And it's called the Trilogy of Purpose. And I won't go into great detail, but let's just say, if you want the battery pack of your life, if you want to be on track, you know, and feel like you're living into your best life, the way to do this is to make sure that there's these 3 areas of your life that need to feel like they're connected. And we didn't get to go into this yesterday, but one of them is that you need to feel connected to Source, which of course is all the spiritual things that we're talking about. And the way around doing that is obviously to be open to the signs. So angelic signs, you get angelic numbers as well, you know, all of the repeated numbers that can come, there you go.
22.
The 1111s, you know, just a succession of numbers, and they actually mean things. So a lovely lady by the name of Doreen Virtue, she was a master in that area. So you can look her up, there's all of that research around that, so it's all been done for you essentially. But that's the first one, okay? So when we look at the trilogy, there's 2 other areas. One is your inner child or your soul. I believe they're one and the same thing. And you need to be able to connect to that area of your life. So the playful side of you, the ability to, you know, dance and sing and enjoy. And this is a big thing that Bobbi was obviously very connected to as well. Now, that is essential for us to be able to go down the rabbit hole, so to speak, to keep our battery pack alive and for us to feel like we're moving in the right direction. And I'll relate this back to your story in a sec. Third thing is your heart. And my business, of course, is Heart Space Manor. My belief is that we all need to drop out of our crazy heads and get into our hearts, because this is our true mind. So those 3 things, when you think of that, the universal force, which is an energy pool, the heart, and also the inner child or the soul, when they're connected, we know our purpose. When we move away from this, and this is what would have happened when you were bedbound, as it was for me as well, the universe is saying, which area are you not connected to right now? And so you could probably suggest that was a pretty big, extreme thing to actually happen. So from my take on that spiritually, when I read into it, and channel it, I would say that you were probably disconnected on all 3 levels.
Yep.
So basically, if you look at your life, you know, you've got a little caboose and you're going down the train tracks, going through all the beautiful stations, and then all of a sudden we have a trauma, or we have something that occurs that's saying, you know, hey, pushes you off track. Off you go like this. How far you're away from your truth or from your purpose determines how crappiola you're going to feel.
Yeah.
So our grief moments would be Bobbi saying she prefers, by the way, we're channeling right now, so I hope that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Bobbi's just saying that the grief cycle, whilst that's okay, she doesn't want that for you.
Yeah.
Because that's actually taking you away from the triangle.
Yeah.
You're not on track when you're operating like that. So she's like, no, think of those 3 things. Which area are you not gifting to yourself, you see?
I have moments where I feel guilty for not grieving. Yes.
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 Yeah.
And I have this, and I've thought exactly what you said, that it's Bobbi who almost puts a block on my grief when it comes forward, and she's like, go through your photos right now, let's look at the videos. Yes. And I sit and I watch those videos, and yes, I've got tears rolling down my eyes, but I just feel so much joy and so much happiness. And I think like that gives me more closure, feeling that I am right, and it is her saying, no, you do not need to sit around and be sad, like 100%. Do something good. And the biggest thing that came out of when I was bedbound is the fact that I connected with my writing again.
Yes.
As a child, I used to keep just like an A4 notebook under my mattress, and I would fill it, like as a 6, 7, 8-year-old child, front to back with stories.
By the way, we're exactly the same. We've never done this, we wouldn't know, but yes, that's exactly. I'm just a mad writer.
Yeah.
That many journals.
Yeah.
I'll go through them one day, and they're probably just amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
But the connection that we said, even on your session, was all about that, wasn't it? So that might be nice to actually then find where that is in the session, so that you can see just how powerful that's going to be in terms of your progression as the woman that you're coming into as a writer.
Yeah.
You know, to actually own that.
Yeah.
And this is why when we talk about divine blueprint, Bobbi was part of your, before we're born, we sign off on everything that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So essentially that was her task, to actually come, be that gorgeous angel upon the planet, and basically push you, if you will, to make sure that you did reconnect, even though, and that again, that came up, didn't it?
Yeah.
So we don't need to be bedbound. See, this is the other thing. I think if we are connected here, then we don't have to have all those terrible expressions of us not being on track.
Yeah.
You know, because when we're on track, we're going to feel fantastic, we'll have energy, yes, we'll have our days, but we've got tools to actually help us with that. But for you, I can feel that, yeah, it's really essential. If I'm having one of those days, which part of me is not connected to the trilogy?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's an amazing tool.
So, yeah, so you sort of say, and of course there's lots of tools related to heart that I can teach you. Then we've got the inner child work, which is basically, that's an amazing body of work, and we did mention that actually. And then of course your other side, which what did we say? Source.
Yeah.
You know, you're very connected to source. I mean, I know that you've got that, and yeah, like you say, you can continue to explore that and be even more open where that's concerned. And the funny part is that people that come to see me will say that they've got no hope afterwards, because it's just like, it's so fulfilling.
Yeah.
So then they just go on, and you know, like, I mean, I'm the same. Like, I still will go and have a session with somebody myself. You remember it all.
Yeah.
It's just like it's built in your, because it's part of your divine blueprint. You know, we were meant to meet, this was meant to happen.
Yeah.
You know, little puppies sitting at our feet.
I
Oh
know.
my gosh, how beautiful is that?
It's melting me.
Yeah, all of these things are basically here to keep us on track. And I think that that's a really big universal message right now, to make sure that we don't feel alone, and to reach out, you know, if you're having those days.
Yeah.
does your community do that? Are they pretty good
Yes.
at being able to do that with
Absolutely.
each other? Not just obviously for
Yeah.
you, but yeah.
There's, I've noticed there's so many friendships that have formed
That's beautiful.
within the community,
Yes.
and I do a lot of live videos, and I'll see in the comments that people are chatting to each other,
Yes.
and they're growing friendships,
just
and
gorgeous.
it's amazing to know that, you
By
know.
the way, I just saw an orb just go across like this, and it almost looked like a feather, a white feather. So there's
goodness.
yeah, she's really happy. I mean, Bobby's just sitting here just all excited. Yeah, it's certainly, actually, yeah, she's telling me to tell the audience about the twins that are definitely going to be there. So again, she's really pushing for that as well. It's so interesting, isn't it? Yeah, she's got lots to say. I think we need a Bobby show, don't we? I'll just sit there and she can just go blah, 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 blah.
Oh my gosh.
Did she use her hands a lot as well?
Yes.
Yeah, just really expressionable with her hands.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't think she cared for mess and all that sort of stuff. It was like, let's get out and let's just do. And some children aren't like that, you know, like they can be quite orderly, particularly if they've gone through, you know, sickness and illness. They tend to need to keep things in a particular way, but she just had this different approach, didn't she?
Yeah, she was a free spirit.
Yeah.
And that's...
Was there anything you wanted to ask me in terms of from the discussions of yesterday? Because sometimes that can really, you know, like then you need to be guided even further, don't you?
Yeah. I think when you were talking about how, you know, Bobby's going to come back to me.
Yes.
Like that's the one thing that's just, it hasn't left my mind. Like I just want to go and have a baby tomorrow, basically. But then
Do you want me to explain that?
Yeah.
Okay, so with souls, basically what can happen is if they're part of what we would term as a soul family, what actually occurs is that you end up in a situation where basically if you're meant to be involved in a relationship or a community or a particular family, regardless of what actually transpires, so for example if there's a passing of a loved one, often these little souls will then actually come together and say, I want to come back to this particular soul family because I haven't actually completed that mission. So they don't necessarily always come back as the same form. So for example, I just said to you, it was really important you look at the eyes of this beautiful being, because the eyes will just show you straight away. Oh, getting chills again. And anyway, the eyes will be exactly like the eyes that you see there, because that's what I could see. I've envisaged before I even knew. And Bobby was actually pointing at the tattoo, wasn't she? Sort of when we were going through the session. But the thing is that it's a little bit like miscarriages, or sometimes even for women that have gone through absolute trauma where they've had abortions when they were young, they actually feel like they've done something really, really awful. And these little babies, these little children actually come to me with scrolls. And they have these beautiful beaming cherub faces, and they're saying, no, we weren't meant to be born then. So the scroll is basically the little signed document that, you know, says, okay, I'm coming to the planet, but I will come back and I am going to be involved in this family in some capacity.
Yeah.
So you may not have the baby, you will this time because we've already confirmed that. But, you know, it might be a sister or a brother or, you know, but within that family unit, it's not just they're a particular type of family, they're a soul family as well. So that's different. That's a spiritual connection. We could talk for hours.
I know.
But anyway, that part of it is very important that people know that you, and I don't know, this seems quite relevant, that regardless of what you've done in life, the little souls, they're not upset with you at all. And we've gone through, I had a lot of women, you know, terrible situations. They might have been raped or whatever, and so they've made that decision to actually get rid of this particular child. I hate using that terminology.
Yeah.
And then as a result, they're left with the guilt regardless. And so they're going through this grief phase and the trauma of that for many, many years, afterwards. So when they come for a session and we explore that, they can release it.
Yeah.
And it's just so beautiful. And often they'll say, I really feel like that baby came back. It's my third child, blah, blah, blah. And I'll say, well, yes. You know? So literally, and the funny part that some spirit can do as well is they'll come, like for example, my dad, he was a very good looking man when he was younger. He likes to present himself that way, now. So, and I'm like, hang on, Dad, there was a few more years after that, but that's just what he does. So spirit has this ability to sort of come to you and show you signs and show you what it is that you need, all different manners of expression, So it is a really, really fascinating thing. Now, this is where, again, okay, so I'm channeling at the moment, so I can see that spirit wants, and this is not just from Bobbi now, this is coming higher, and you guys can actually help, so she's not allowed to edit this out of it, that she needs to write her book. It's essential that you feel supported to write your book because you are naturally gifted in that area. But not only that, your story needs to be told, and it's going to help your community.
Yeah.
Okay. If not now, when? That's the first thing. And if you can't do it for yourself, this is where I get cheeky. Do it for Bobbi.
Yeah,
and
that's
the
it.
memory of her.
Yeah.
Because her little life was taken way too soon. Another way of looking at it, and this is probably where I'll leave it for you, is imagine if we're all swimming downstream. Okay, it's really, really, it's not very exhausting. It's easy. If you see the stream as your life, okay, so we're all going to get to the same destination. But the thing that most people do, unfortunately, is start to swim against the current. Okay, and that's when we're not listening to the messages and we're not listening to our inner choices or our inner voice. And so we start swimming against the current. Eventually, you're still going to get exhausted.
Yeah.
And then you're going to bump along to the end of your days, and you'll have all these bruises and you'll feel all, not really nice hair and whatever else.
Yeah.
What you can choose to do is to jump on a lilo, okay, with your little pina colada.
That's my style.
And just have, all the beautiful makeup and the hair and everything else and sort of glide on through your life. So we've got the choice, and the choice basically is that every day, in every moment, we can choose to be part of that trilogy, or we can choose to actually disengage and be part of something that is an altered state, isn't the truth, isn't the reality. The reality is that we can have an incredible life. You know that, you can feel it.
Yeah.
The bubble is there when we allow ourselves to explore it, and we can all do that. And if that's something that you can imagine that you relate to, then just think that, am I doing today? Am I swimming against the current of my life? Or am I on my lilo drinking my pina colada and enjoying it? Because I'm going to get to the same destination, right?
How well you gotta
Yes, exactly.
get there.
That's exactly right. Because really at the end of the day, we don't know how long we've got on the planet.
That's it.
So we may as well make it beautiful.
Yeah, that's exactly it. We're not here for a long time.
No, we're not.
And every day is a blessing, and
Absolutely.
we just need to learn how to make the most of it and
Yeah.
get through all of the challenges.
And even the challenging days, we can, I always say, just bless the mess,
Yeah.
bless the mess and do something with it. So have your little tools available. That really, really helps.
Yeah. How can people get in touch with you?
Oh, thank you, darling. Well, look, the probably easiest way at the moment is through, I've got a website.
Yep.
So we've got
I'll link
Heartspace Nana. Yeah. And also my phone number, which is, I'm quite happy for people still at this stage to connect with me on that.
Yep.
There's two numbers. There's the business number, but my personal number, and my PA will kill me for doing this, is 0414 722 882, and I can do all sorts of sessions sessions for you, and I can let you know about some of the programs and the workshops and or the retreats, because we'll be running retreats. I'd love you to come along to a retreat.
I'm down.
Amazing.
I will be
yes. Yay. I've got lots of people coming from Sydney. You know, there's lots of different things and ways for you to be able to explore. But you know, I also obviously do Skype, and I connect with people all around the world. So don't feel like just because you're not in Melbourne you can't be part of our gang.
Yeah, exactly.
Our little like-hearted people.
And if you are in Melbourne, when you open your
centre, and even now, look, I can do sessions. Yeah, please come down and check us out, because it is. I suppose this is an expression of me. When I lived in Sydney, I was very, very sad about the thought of not being able to connect so much with people because I was new to the space. And I suppose it was a selfish act in some ways. I wanted to, have people around me that I could really connect with. And so that's how HSM was born. And, you know, it was 7 rooms, and I had big ballroom, and it was just amazing. We did conscious events and workshops and things like that. This is an expression of that too here, and it is a beautiful space. So
it's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's different, but you know, this is Melbourne. So and the whole idea is that we'll have one in every state, and eventually when the world opens up, there'll be one hopefully scattered all around the world.
That would be incredible.
Yeah, just like little lighthouses, because that's the thing, we need to feel we can drop into our hearts, and sometimes you need to be in a homely environment to be able to achieve that. I'll leave you with this. I had a beautiful man that came in. Now, he was 6'4". He could hardly get under the doors, even though, you know, these doors, you know, it was quite tall, the ceilings and everything else. And he walked through the space the very first day, and he had, I would say, a very open heart. However, for him, he felt quite closed down at that stage because he was going through some significant loss. And he said, Michelle, I don't know what's come over me. He said, but I'm feeling so, I just need to cry. And I said, just do it. He said, what is it about this space? And that's just literally all it is. It's an energy, you know, it's a vibration, but it's done, you know, I curate it with love, I guess. So hopefully that's what you would explore and experience. And, you know, if we can do it through social media and the internet and everything else, I just wish I could just reach in there.
I know.
You know what I mean?
You just want to be physically with someone, but
give them a cuddles.
Yes.
But we can do virtual.
Yeah, that's it, virtual hugs.
Yes, that's right.
The COVID way.
But I just wanted to thank you, beautiful angel. It's so beautiful to do this. Like I said, these guys are just incredible. I just feel like we're in lifelong friends.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
I feel like I need to give her a heart hug because I can.
Yes.
Thank you, Talia.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. This was honestly amazing. My first ever joint video.
We'll do more of these things.
Yeah, absolutely. Even by Skype and stuff. In the comments, let me know what you took out of this. What was the most important message that gave you chills, or that that was a hit for you? Yeah. So let us know. We'd love to get some feedback, and
and if you wanted us to do more things, because we've got 1,000 topics.
Absolutely.
Talk about. Grief obviously is a big one, but there's many things. So you know, even if you said, I want to learn more about development, we could just do it through.
Absolutely, I would love that. Oh my gosh. I feel like this is the start of something really big and really beautiful.
5+.
Yes, nailed it. All right.
Thank you, Bobbi.
Yes, thank you, Bobbi. Oh.